What's up, guys? Iceman here. Welcome to Meditations. So this video is a bit humbling for me to make, alright? Because on one end, it's pretty trendy to say, oh yeah, screw all regulations, this and that. Let it just be free market through and through. You know what I'm saying? And it's also trendy to say, oh yeah, free market's evil, this and that. Anybody who makes money's evil, this and that. Tax the rich to hell and back. Give us all the money, you know what I mean? It's like both ways is just, it's trendy either way. I mean, one end, I don't know, they're both problematic. And the reality is, according to my assessment, in order to make this perfect, functioning kingdom of ice, is that you have to have a blend of the two. Now let me explain. Oh, I didn't want to talk about this shit. I have other things I wanted to talk about, but I got to get this over with. So for example, remember when Bill Clinton, he signed NAFTA, all right? NAFTA. And a bunch of the manufacturers then started moving to Mexico or Canada or somewhere else. Mostly Mexico. And at first people thought that was going to be a good thing for whatever reason, I don't know. But I remember in the 90s, all the manufacturing jobs started to leave. I knew people who were in the manufacturing industry. And it sucked because they were making big money. You know, they were there for a long time, for like a decade. And they just kept making more and more because, you know, it was coming from the ground up. Taking advantage of your resources and so forth. So it started pulling all that away, right? They just started all leaving. And a massive percentage of them were just gone by like 2000 or something. And we started to see the economy tank. Then there's that fake little boost with the whole internet buzz. I can't remember what that was. But nonetheless, how it just started pulling it all away. The jobs, the good money-making jobs that your average person could get, this and that, causing a lot of unemployment. And then there was that World Trade Organization thing where the Red Dragon country, you know, the big Red Dragon country, the guys who are good with numbers, they're good with calculation. Yeah. When they were allowed to join the World Trade Organization and compete with United States manufacturing. And I think that asshole signed that as well, that Bill Clinton. I'm not entirely sure. It happened right in that era. So all of a sudden you're allowing these people in the Red Dragon country who are to an extent enslaved with forced labor upon them. These people aren't getting paid that much, right? They're working like a ton of hours. You're forcing them to work and just churn out and churn out and churn out and optimization, if you will. Well, at the same time, over here then in the United States, you're like, yeah, you can compete with them. But there's going to be a lot of rules here and regulations and a set standard of pay and all that. Minimum wage and things like that, you know what I mean? Restricted work hours, compensations, this and that. But yeah, you can still compete. Only your arms are tied behind your backs. All right? So yeah, you can play football with them, with the Red Dragon Country. Only your arms are going to be tied behind your backs. And theirs aren't. And just see how it goes. I mean, it's free trade. It's free market. So obviously what happens is all the shit leaves then. And all of a sudden Red Dragon Country is making all this stuff. Like 99% of it or something. These fucking idiots. Who allow for that shit. And then you got the other guys who come in office. You got the Bush, and you got the Obama, and you got those guys. And of course, they don't touch this stuff. They probably don't even know it exists. And it's just those cogs keep on spinning. And more is being made in Red Dragon Country. The value of the US dollar is going down and down. And costs of living and all that are just going up and up because we're not taking advantage of our own resources from the ground up. It's all just over there now. We're just taking from over there. So it's slowly creating that shift of power. And they're, of course, building up their army and stuff. The Red Dragon Country, I don't blame them. I'd do the same damn thing. Got to have a good army. But, I mean, who the hell knows what they're going to do with it? They're like, oh, yeah, we'll keep making your stuff. Yeah, we're going to keep making your stuff. We're just going to keep forcing slave quantity people just making your stuff. And that's just the end goal. Oh, yeah, bullshit. Yeah, as if that were the end goal. If you just want to enslave your people forever and just have them make shit for somebody else. You know what I mean? I mean, like I said, they're good with calculation, and that's what they got going on right now. I mean, this stuff just repeated itself throughout history, right? It's always just a race to power, no matter what means, and then you do what you will with that power when you get there. No matter where you are, what you're at, what nation you are, this and that. You know what I mean? That's just human nature. So unfortunately, to make this perfect kingdom of ice, where there's prosperity and well-being and peace of mind, you need some laws and statutes and shit, okay? And it's got to be a sort of blend of free market. And I guess there's no other way to put it. What's that word that they use? That they all think is like what you got to do, like entirely. Socialism? There's no way. I'm not going to use that word. But you need, to an extent, rules, taxations, regulations, tiers, you know what I mean? You need that stuff. And in order for that to work, you have to make some executive decisions. And you have to look over at the Red Dragon Country. You'll be like, oh, they're making all the shit. And our dollar's devaluing like hell. And costs are rising here because of it. If only we would make our own shit. You know what I mean? Like, they got to make some of this shit. I mean, that's why this stuff blends well together. Because in different parts of the world, they have different resources. So it all kind of works in harmony if done correctly. All right? But when they're just making all the shit, and you're not letting your people make any of it, I mean, the same thing applies with the gas. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you say, yeah, you can't drill your own fucking gas because it's bad for nature. You can, however, have them drill it way over there and then ship it across the fucking ocean. And that's better for nature. Yeah. That's worse for nature. Right? I'm just trying to, maybe I need to spell it out. It's worse for nature if you have them drill it over there and have them shit every fucking gallon across the ocean thousands of miles every time, killing the whales and shit, you know what I mean? It's actually worse for nature than if you just dig for your own fucking oil. If it's right under your goddamn feet. Alright? Now, that's probably not the most ideal, but what is important is that you drill the fucking oil while incentivizing coming up with solutions. You know what I mean? You don't make it illegal or something. You give some incentive to look into other resources that are more replenishable. They got the hydrogen and the nuclear shit. And maybe something to do with electricity. I don't know. But that's how you get it going in the right direction. So, to my understanding, you have to deregulate some of the shit here. Like, yeah, you can make this shit. But then the problem is they're going to keep making the cheap shit. They're going to be like, no, buy this. It's only $1. So what you got to do, in order to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs, right? You got to say, hey, sorry, if you want to give that to us for $1, if you insist on just making all this shit still, when we're trying to start making our own shit, then we're going to put a lot of tax on that stuff. We're going to start taxing the hell out of it so that we can take that money and utilize that. And then if you want us to keep making this shit, that's fine. But I mean, you're probably going to start charging more for it. But at the same time, we're going to start making our own shit. You know what I mean? And it's going to be quality. And it's going to start building from the ground up the value in the dollar. And even though then those little tiny things might go up a little bit, everything else will start coming down and balancing it out. Like living expenses and all that other shit. You see what I'm saying? The same can be said with groceries. Like just short story, bear with me. So remember when the marijuana, when there was all the talks of that was going to be like legal all over the place from state to state? Well, the state that I live in, it was still illegal to use or sell unless you had a Medicard, right? And one of my dogs, a buddy of mine, had a Medicard, right? So he was selling this stuff. I'm not kidding you guys. He was making $10,000, $14,000 a month, all right? He had like this nice big fucking house, big property. He had this little shed that was all like security embedded, and he had all this expensive security stuff. And I mean, he had all this stuff. And he wanted it in the shed outside the house because he knew he had such valuable stuff that criminals were going to come in there and try to steal it. So he didn't, and he had children in the house, so he wanted to have the thing outside the house. He was making big money, right? He'd drive his little quad around. I go over there. He's like, yeah, I got a gun range. We got a boom range. We can do whatever. Nice big house, nice big pole barn. And I looked at him and I asked him, so what do you think about this whole thing where they're going to like totally deregulate marijuana and just kind of legalize it? I was like, what do you think that's going to do to your business? Because my speculation was, he's not going to be making the big money anymore. If all of a sudden everybody can buy it and sell it and make it without all that regulation and shit, it's going to drive the prices. They're going to plummet. So he's that $10,000, $14,000 a month he's making. It's just not going to be a thing anymore. But you know what his answer was? He said, "Oh, Iceman, no, I'm voting for that." It's like, yeah, I'm voting for it to be legalized, and I'm telling all my friends to do that too. I'm sitting here thinking like, oh God, why the hell would you do that to your business? You're gonna be fucked. You know what I mean? Because obviously his place is, oh, I like the marijuana. It's great. I want everybody to be able to have it and this and that. And yeah, legal. I mean, that sounds good. Let's legalize, But I mean, whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, my argument is that I knew this was going to change the economy to a great extent, and it certainly did. I was like, really, you're not afraid of like it causing a massive drop in prices where it's just going to be widely available to everyone? Everyone's just going to be able to buy it for cheap, and it's just going to be a competition and price to the race to the bottom. More people are going to come into making it, growing it, and selling it. And he said, no, I just think more people are going to be using it. It's like kind of what his answer was. But I mean, I was like, okay. But I mean, I knew in my mind, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I just don't think that's how numbers work. And then a year later, between that time and then, it became legalized and deregulated, right? All of a sudden everybody could buy it and make it and sell it. And I call him up for something else. I think I was actually calling in regards to that. I was just going to buy some little tincture. And I was like, I could get this shit everywhere. I might as well hit my buddy and try to help him because I remember he was in that. So I called him up. I said, hey man, you still got that? And he's like, oh no, I got out of that business. And there was sort of like a defeating tone in his voice. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I've been out of it for like 6 months. So like this happened like instantly. And my thoughts are, my God, how much money you were making and all that shit that you invested. He was like, yeah, I'm in the, I'm slaughtering lambs and pigs now. It's hard work. It's tough money, but that's what we're doing now on our property. I was like, are you kidding me? That's a lot of sweat to the brow right there. But yeah, he informed me that the market plummeted to such a great extent that it wasn't even worth his while anymore. In fact, he was losing money. So he just sold all his shit and got out of it. You know what I mean? And that's what Ice Boy predicted was going to happen. That's just what happens. If it's internally, if you free those things up and you let them make their own shit, and you make less regulation on it, then just they're going to be able to compete. And then you're not going to have these big folks on the top who are just siphoning all the resources and money. You're going to have like everybody and it just becomes like a prosperous thing. And once there's enough people doing it, it'll start dropping to where it's not worth it for everybody. So then they'll break out into other things. You know what I mean? But it'll still be stable enough for there to be a market in it and a business in it. But you're just not going to like. It's kind of like what happens with the big corporations here. They get like a monopoly on the system, and then they wage for these stupid regulations, and then they start outsourcing their manufacturing, and then they even move overseas while still waging for more regulation here. And then all of a sudden the end game is that they can be operating overseas like what they are today, and there's too much regulation here for anyone to compete, so that then they can start, selling shit for whatever they want. And it's kind of like him, only on a bigger scale. You know what I mean? Like he was making $14,000 a month. Just one little guy in his shed. You know what I mean? Yeah, I predicted that. There's 2 more stories. I'll make them short. One is kind of related. My lady and I were buying milk, right? But here, you can't really buy the milk from the cow because there's too much regulation on it. It's like, oh, you can't buy what you want with your own money because you're just going to hurt yourself with it. So you got to like buy a portion of cow and this and that. And there's all these little loopholes these people have to go through. But some of them are doing it, right? Just like how the marijuana thing was. And so this lady's selling us these gallons of milk for $18 a fucking gallon. All right. And I mean, I live in Michigan. It's not like I'm in California or something. So prices here aren't that bad, but we're talking $18 a gallon. I can go to the store and buy one for like $2 of the pasteurized milk. But you see what I'm saying? There's all these regulations and shit in the market. So only few people are getting into it. They're going through all those loopholes and shit. And then they can just keep the prices where they want. And this bitch kept raising the prices. We're like, what the fuck? Okay, chill out. Like she raised it like every couple of months. We're like, God damn, how much is this milk going to be? So we opted out. I was like, okay, we're just going to stop buying it. We're going to boycott it. We're going to buy it from the damn store now. Yeah, it's not the one from the damn cow. It's not the nice natural milk or whatever. We're buying it from the damn store. And if they would deregulate that, like what they did with the marijuana, all of a sudden the milk would be more accessible and we could start buying it again. More people get into it. Hell, I might even get into it. And it's going to start bringing down those prices so that we can have that milk then. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's that regulation and shit that's causing it to go high. One more thing that I had going on a couple years ago is one of my dogs who has an MBA from the University of Chicago, right? Finance and all that, banking. And he was older than me. He was like 15 years older than me. So you think that he know what he's doing. He was like, oh yeah, I'm going to some convention. This guy from University of Chicago, which is the school he went to, he said, yeah, they're coming there. All of us graduates are going there to listen to him. And he's advocating big to put all our money in Bitcoin. I was like, are you serious? Like right now, you mean? He was like, yeah, I'm going to put about 20 grand into it. I was like, you sure you want to do that, dog? I'm sitting there looking at the prices. I was like, it's at like 60 grand a coin, right? So I'm like, oh shit. I told him, I was like, I wouldn't do that. I'd hold off. He's like, why? I was like, well, because all the shoeshine boys are saying to do that right now. And you got all these guys who are working for other people who are saying to do that. These guys who are just kissing some other man's ass for a living, who obviously want to get out of that, so they're desperate. They want to get out of working for somebody else, so they're desperate. So they're thinking that this Bitcoin is going to have another boom and they're going to get rich and get out of their job. You know what I mean? So you have these people making these irrational risks. You got the guys working at Burger King who want to do it. You got the guys who are digging shit for like the gas pipes and all that. You know what I mean? You got the guys who are, you just got guys all over the damn place who want to do that because they want to get out of their job. It's like the old saying before the Great Depression, the shoeshine boys, when they start giving stock advice, that's when you know to get out. So all these guys were, all these neckbeards or whatever, maybe I don't know, but it's just an expression, But when all the general people, the common folk, I don't know if you want to call it the peasants. Maybe you could call it the peasants. All right, let's just fucking call it the peasants for the sake of the argument. When all the peasants start giving you stock advice, when they come to your house, they're like, oh yeah, my sister says invest in Bitcoin right now. Yeah, she's an accountant. Yeah, she knows. Yeah, she got her degree. That's when you know to get out of it. And buy it later, maybe, when it plummets. And it's going to plummet after all these guys spend all their money in it, and it shoots it up a little bit. But then all of a sudden, we have a rainy day in the economy, and they start selling it because they get desperate. They got to pay for their damn bills, and they can no longer hold those stocks. So they throw it on the market, and then it's a perpetual cycle. And they all start throwing it on the market, and the price just tanks. And that's when you buy something like that. I'm gonna buy a little bit of it. I'm not gonna buy a lot. I don't really like the woke coins and stuff, they don't have any intrinsic value. I like the silver and gold. I told you guys I had some silver and gold. I showed you in the video. And I like the boomsticks and the things that they take to go boom. All right. And I like sustainability, like chickens and eggs and property. All right. Things of intrinsic value that you can grasp with your senses. Not something that only exists because the grid exists. You know what I mean? Like woke coins and stuff. And that actually require power to even exist. That the powers and rulers and principalities of the world can even take out of their economies if they wanted to and plummet the price even more. But like I said, there's a place for that. But I told this guy, I said, don't do it, dog. And he said, okay, I won't. And he didn't. And then that price just stayed where it was. And even started going down. And I texted him, I was like, shit, look what's happening. This is like in the months afterward. I'm like, look. I was like, look, it's going down. I was like, look, aren't you glad you didn't buy that shit? And he said, yeah. I'm glad I didn't buy that, Iceman. You see what I'm saying? But what are your thoughts on these matters? How do you make for a perfect Well, let's not. How do you make for a functioning, sustainable, desirable civilization? How do you do that? When it comes to free market, when it comes to taxing the rich, I made a video on that, check that out. When it comes to regulation, when it comes to like international trade and all that, when it comes to taxes, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. When it comes to energy, that's a big one. Yeah, the energy is a big one apparently, but let me know your thoughts on these matters. I'm curious what you guys have to say about that. Like this video if you will, subscribe to the page. If you want to support the meditations, become a patron, linked in the description below. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace be with you.